Hello everyone, today I will show you how to make this hat on the Passap. First, make sure the racking handle is in its lowest position. Raise 110 needles on the front bed, 55 to the left and 55 to the right of 0. Place the edge springs on the last needles and make sure the latches are closed. The trip cam for the row counter must be centered. It should look like this. Use the orange ruler and raise 110 needles on the back bed of the machine. You have to observe the needle rule. The leftmost working needle must be on the front bed and the rightmost working needle must be on the back bed of the machine, just as in the diagram. Place the edge springs on the last needles and make sure the latches are closed. It should look like this. Rotate the racking handle half turn anti-clockwise to its upper position. Use the orange ruler and arrange the needles on the front bed in 1-to-1 division. Move the edge spring to the last working needle and make sure the latch is closed. Then arrange the needles on the back bed in 1-to-1 division and place the edge spring on the last working needle. It should look like this. Now you can see the arrangement from a different point of view. Insert the orange strippers and take the yarn. I will use black cotton yarn. Set the front lock to N and the stitch size to 3. Set the back lock the same way, the lever to N and the stitch size to 3. Knit one row, the lock must be on the left side of the machine. This is the zigzag row, it should look like this. Raise pushers and the row working needles only on the back bed. They have to be arranged in 1-to-1 division like the needles, so you can raise them by hand or using the orange ruler. It should look like this. Now raise the rest of the needles only on the back bed. The first needle you have to raise is the one to the left of the edge spring. All 110 needles on the back bed must be in working position. You can see the arrangement in the diagram. And again, you can see it from a different point of view just to make it as clear as I can. On the front bed, the needles are arranged in 1-to-1 division and all 110 needles are in working position on the back bed. Set the front lock to CX and increase the stitch size to 4. Set the same settings on the back lock, CX and stitch size 4. Knit 2 rows using these settings. It should look like this. Set the front lock to N and increase the stitch size to 4.5. Set the back lock to BX and increase the stitch size to 4.5. Knit one row to finish the cast on. Clear the row counter. Increase the stitch size to 5 on both sides of the lock. Now knit 48 rows to make the brim of the hat. Clear the row counter. Use the orange ruler and raise the needles on the front bed. The last needle you have to raise is the one to the right of the edge spring. You must have 110 needles in working position on both beds. The racking handle is in its upper position, so the needles must be opposite to each other, just as in the diagram. Set the front lock to CX and the stitch size to 4.5. Then set the back lock the same way, CX and stitch size 4.5. Knit 2 rows. If you skip this step, you will have holes between the brim and the hat. I made 2 test pieces from waste yarn just to show you the holes. Now you can see the results without the CX rows. And on the second piece there are no holes. If you look up close you can see the CX rows. Now let's continue with the tutorial. Clear the row counter. Set the front lock to N, the stitch size must be 4.5. Set the back lock to EX, the stitch size must be 4.5. Rotate the racking handle clockwise to its lowest position. The needles must be arranged according to the needle rule, just as shown in the diagram. If you don't have a custom comp attached to the knitting, at this point you have to attach weights to the brim. I will attach 2 claw weights to the ends of the knitting. Now knit 90 rows to make the hat. With my right hand I'm moving the lock and with my left hand I'm slightly pulling the hat down, just as if a third weight is attached. Clear the row counter. Rotate the racking handle anti-clockwise to its upper position. The needles must be opposite to each other. Use the double-end bodkin tool to transfer the stitches in 1-to-1 division. Start from the leftmost needle on the back bed and transfer the stitch to the opposite needle on the front bed. Then transfer the second one on the front bed to the opposite needle on the back bed and continue until you transfer all the stitches. They must be arranged as shown in the diagram. Use the orange ruler and put all the empty needles on the front bed out of working position. Then do the same on the back bed of the machine. The front lock must be set to N and the stitch size must be 4.5. On the back lock, move the lever to N, the stitch size must be 4.5. Knit 12 rows using these settings. After you knit the first row, stop and check for any dropped stitches. If everything is fine, continue knitting. Clear the row counter and set the front lock to GX. On the back lock, increase the stitch size to 6.5. Remove the orange strippers and insert the black ones. Rotate the racking handle one full turn anti-clockwise. It must be in its upper position. The working needles on the front bed must be opposite to the working needles on the back bed, as shown in the diagram. Now transfer all the stitches from the front bed to the working needles on the back bed. Don't pull the stitches behind the latches. Every needle must have 2 stitches into its hook. It should look like the diagram. Place the edge springs onto the last needles and make sure the latches are closed. Take the orange ruler and put all the needles on the front bed of the machine out of working position. Now knit 2 rows. When you knit the first row, stop and check for any dropped stitches. If everything is fine, knit the second row. These are the last 2 rows for today's project. Now cut the yarn from the lock. Take the yarn from the lock and cut an additional piece about 4 times longer than the width of the head. Thread it into the double-end bodkin tool. Lower the front bed and put the cast-off thread between the beds of the machine. Remove the edge spring, take the double-end bodkin tool and start taking all the stitches from right to left. Don't forget to remove the weights first, they can fall and hit you while removing the head from the machine. When you take the last stitch, the head will fall from the machine. This is the head. This is the cast-off. And this is the automatically sewn brim. It looks amazing. Fold the head with the right side inside. I will sew it using the cast-on thread. Start at the end of the brim towards the bottom. When you reach the bottom of the brim, start sewing up towards the top of the head. I'm using the invisible seam to sew the sides. If you look closer at each side, there are loops and knots. You have to pass the needle through one loop, around the knot and then through the next loop. Then repeat the same steps on the other side. When the brim is sewn, continue sewing the sides until you reach the top of the head. Hide the thread tail in between the stitches and cut it off. This is the result. It is almost invisible. This is how the right side should look like. Now turn the head with the right side inside again. Take the tails from the top and cut them short. Find the single one and put it aside. It is from the cast off. Take the other 4 tails and pull them tight. With your other hand push the head to shrink, just as in a drawstring bag. Make a few knots and weave the tails in between the stitches. I'm using a tapestry needle to hide the tails. Finally, cut them short. If you can feel the knot on top of the head, use something and gently hit it a few times. Be careful not to tear the yarn. Now turn the head inside out. And this is the final result. Now I will try it on. Thank you for staying with me. Have a nice day and see you in my next video.